Alright everybody, it's just been a while since I haven't made a video, but I gotta keep up for next time while we see, because I have new inspiration today, is no other than Godzilla x Kong, the New Empire, the new toy figures. Keep in mind, I'm too much adult for these children's toys, or even the people who ever like this. And as always, if you guys like this video, subscribe, take care on the way, and don't forget to click the bell notification on. Anyways, let's start for the Neo Lazarus Carnivores Part 2.
Since August 8, 2052, the saber-beaked centipedes became the first-time crustacean carnivores, which lived the main living deserts of two Middle Eastern places between Egypt and Saudi Arabia. These terrifying species are the first time becoming descendants of the various centipede species due to mass extinction from early December 22, 2049, and plus these crustacean creatures had their deadly beaks that can swallow everything without chewing it. It's highly doubted that these centipedes begin their first hunt, were the mostly camels, but without any warning by both Egyptian and Saudi Arabian authorities, they have no choice but take a good target on these crustacean carnivorous creatures. But most importantly, their hunt on these monsters continued until it ended April 17, 2067, due to the end of the mass hunting, and plus the saber-beaked centipedes continued to hunt dozens of camels as a mystery. But they don't actually hunt camels, but they can also eat camel spiders, along with the entire small rodents, between the golden spiny mouse, and especially the sand rats. To understand the situation of the saber-beaked centipedes, well, these crustacean monsters can sometimes roam the entire deserts, then burrowing it, and then ambushing the herbivores and rodents, which is originally based on the crate dragons from the Star Wars franchise on the planet Tatooine. Though these centipedes does not spit the acidic poison, when they don't have any special abilities at all, but despite this, it can only jump from 23 feet into the air and then swallowing camels like a gazelle's, and that is very high enough to attack any herbivores. The legacy of the saber-baked centipedes are highly ambiguous enough to criticize the territories, when it's the part of entire camels that's still roaming the deserts, but the humans were forced to flee and even riding it by getting away from them. With 22nd century AD to present, we don't know if they're retired enough to hunt the other herbivores including insects and small rodents. Since June 2060, the eastern killer whales became the most highly intelligent carnivores that lived between the Sea of Japan and the Pacific Ocean. These killer whales were mostly sometimes eat fish, they can also prey on the frilled sharks, has it been justified for the local truth, and even they can land on the Kyushu island of Japan when they were submerged from underwater for once. These marine reptiles have 4 legs, especially their dorsal fins from back on their heads and as well their backs. But it's actually pretty shocking, when these look of eastern killer whales were originally inspired by the Trevor Henderson's behemoth from the creepypasta lore, although this canon city is ambiguous. The eastern killer whales were most important friendly to the humans, but because they never hunt them at all, which meaning that they can expert for the rescue of anybody else due to them being dragged, not until these killer whales can get them back on land from drowning, and plus these sea mammals are amazingly guardians. These killer whales are not just eating fishes or sharks, but they can also eat the Japanese spider crabs where they could be lurking somewhere on sand pits from the ocean floor, and thus their targets can make a right spot where anything else they could do. The believings of the eastern killer whales are highly amphibians, in fact that they can find meat when the corpse of cows and horses were used as a dinner service, and even the next scene, the eastern killer whales can even run like a dog's, and then they can jump on the water at 45 feet below from the cliff. Meanwhile, at the Moroccoa National Park was established, and it was named after the Japanese scientist who was eventually passed away back in 2047, but beneath the creatures can also thirsty enough by also drinking water when they're bored. Even the conflict was adjusted because they're already fighting for hunger during the fighting over the fish bait, but once they've already stopped fighting they can share it back over their fishes as a dinner itself. They can relax due to retirement meal. But the craziest thing is, the eastern killer whales can even hunt down around the various whale species, such as the acrobatic humpbacks, gray whales, blue whales, and especially the right whales. These amphibian carnivores were eventually feared by them, and so all dozens of whales were forced to flee while saving divers from the great white sharks, when they're trying to prey on them, not until the eastern killer whales successfully took over the territory, and then helping divers to take them back to boats, and especially the military warships. With the legacy of the eastern killer whales, it's highly believed that these amphibian mammals will always enjoy to prey on the sea herbivores, and befriending with the humanity due to the alliance beliefs, and besides, they could away to see them underwater when it's encountered by the submarines, but for now, the eastern killer whales continued themselves as the mystery. The Lees are the new reborn terror birds when they appeared on December 26, 2059. The shocking was, they're actually descendants of the moa due to the cryptid scenario, when it's fully discovered by somewhere in the Daintree rainforest in Australia, especially living as well to be from New Zealand too. But to be honest, the Lees are still remain carnivorous birds. Unlike their ancestors, these birds are way deadly than the Gastornis from the prehistoric past, when it's also unveiled, though it's still invalid at all. These terror birds were eventually feared by the Tasmanian devils, kangaroos, echidnas, platypus, and other severe faunas in Australia. However, the Lees are highly durable than emus, which is quite impressed together, when it's surprising, and Lees are sometimes can take over their territories and then marking it allegedly. Lees can always prey anything, but not just other diets, but they can catch fish with their strong beak, when it's highly understandable birds, once they can swallow it for food, but even for the youngsters as for between breakfast about 7 a.m. in the morning, and dinner at 5 p.m. at the evening. These terror birds are also highly intelligent, capable of running speed over 230 miles per hour, when the Lees are greatly being themselves full-scale quickest flashing predators. They can also jump by catching the house sparrows, and even the barn swallows when it's suspected by them for 3 weeks, and then they can relax by thrilling up for 25 minutes to sleep before hunting again. Lees relationship humans could only to be explained. Well, it's hard to believe that Lees are never attacking humans, but despite this, if the one hatchling meets them, and it might can have fun with them as well. From 22nd century to present, the Lees were still living up through Australia and New Zealand today, with humans can sometimes raise them as domestics, before they taking them to the zoo, and plus, the Lees are always too much kind to them. With the legacy of the Lees has been occurred, but for all of it, we know what these terror birds are doing here in the future, and by this time, the Lees are still remaining hunting down between the carnivorous monsters, including herbivore animals, and just in time, we could understand that Lees are highly enough to prey something else. Their retirement has just begun, until they were always will be for another hunt someday, once and for all. The Salazars are the new carnivorous pigs which they appear in December 2054. These are the most infamous predators, that literally roamed the world of Russia and Alaska. As we could probably know, these corruptive pigs, the Salazars, are the descendants of the entelodonts from the prehistoric past, which these new monsters made themselves as the contacted scavengers. As it turns out, they have their own horns of the deers in which that can mimic them for the long-term periods. Once the deer saw this as their doppelgangers, and quickly fled when they didn't realize that's the new threat of the carnivores, and the Salazars began to prey on them, but these horned pigs are highly durable for the running speeds up to 95 miles per hour during the hunt. With the speculative evidence of the Salazars, it is correctly proven that they do look alike entelodonts, but unlike their ancestors, these horned carnivorous pigs are quite handsome to eat any other herbivorous animals, including the Siberian musk deers, the wood bisons, and even other herbivore species what they hunt around the places. According to the paleontologist from Arizona named Emma Carsley, she said they do remind her of the same pigs from hell, but they're not supposed to have horns by mimicking the deers, causing them to flee and hide from them. But the female Salazars did not have any horns at all. Once they mate until they'll have another one, and then they can grow up someday to prey on deers far next in the future. This was a misunderstanding about these pigs, that they also prey on not just the deers, but also the wild boars, when that was also suggested they are the rival arch-nemesis of them, when it's already proven that all boars were 11 of them got eaten alive for the rest of the day. But apparently they just don't eat meat, they also eat bones. When all their meat bodies were gone, it can make total cracking noises for once, until they are nothing left from behind the snow times and especially the summer as well. Above the legacy of the Salazars, it's only to figure out that they are mimic the entire deer non-stop, and plus, those horned carnivorous pigs can prey every whole herbivores if that's a way possible. But it's just mostly to know that, these new monsters that can haunt on our peaceful imagination for once. In early September 2057, the Reapers are the new reborn evolved bats that can flew all over the air across the Canada during the night. As we could probably tell for the starlights of horrors, the Reapers are the descendants of Icaronicterus from the prehistoric past. Once it was wisely speculates that the Reapers are the infamous flying carnivores that can hunt down any of the path of herbivores and humans, only about their leg? Well, this was a sickle toe of the velociraptor, that can even catch the small rodents and other insects. From most importantly, these bats are eventually living the Western Canada ever since living through the caves when hiding trees, and besides these bats are very larger, they only have a 45 feet tall, bigger enough than bears and cougars. But to understand all this, these Reapers are extremely venomous, that can bite any people's neck like a vampire, but when it's discovered that might can cause an entire infection. Ever since this mass endangerment, only 308 people died of the massive blood loss due to the strong rabies, as the hunt already began in 2063. Before later ended in 2070, the Reapers' hunt on herbivores began to erupt around the places, when they would no longer hunt any humans, before they were later taken to the Edmonton Zoo. The biology of Reapers believe that floating carnivores has a huge full-skill ambushing predators, capable of picking any animals of farm between the goats, sheep, donkeys, cows, pigs, and even horses. These bats are mostly made. Their same idea was about the golden eagle that drops the goat off the mountains, once the goats died of falling on lands, and the eagles can even eat all over the meat corpses after killing it, and so does the first-time Reapers when dropped through only 25 feet on the grass ground below, and then it would make them stunt before being poisoned to death by Reapers' vampiric fangs, and then eating them alive. Reapers had also possessed the camouflage. When they kept hiding before the sunrise, these bats are very allergic to the sunlight, just like the vampires from the Romanian folklore. And yet once they took them to Edmonton Zoo, it's allowing them to say living alive, but they're not vulnerable to the lamps at all, and besides it kept them here for the rest of the day, until it remains. With the legacy of the Reapers believing that they can hunt more animals from the farm at some rest of the night, once they kept killing them by poisoning and then eating the rest as the meal itself for once, not much if these bats were high for their blood taste just like the vampire bats, only they can use their long tongue to drink it for about 4 minutes when they have a deep breath and invincible heart inside their chest. But the scary thing is, the Reapers had 4 eyes to take a good target once the prey is correctly done, but most of all, these bats can make a total night raid and hunt what they ever need or whatsoever.
Well guys, it's already over after all, but I hope you guys enjoy more videos, if I can. Make speculative herbivores what they ever look alike, so subscribe, like, and comment down below, but don't forget to follow me on the social media accounts, and I will see you in the next video. This is Serial Designation JK888 signing off, peace.